Certain information came to light over the weekend in relation to the candidate. There was a fulsome apology. Further information came to light yesterday calling for decisive action. So I took decisive action. It is a huge thing to withdraw support for a Labour candidate during the course of a by-election. It's a tough decision, a necessary decision. But when I say the Labour Party has changed under my leadership, I mean it.
I think they're in terrible trouble because it shows a couple of things. Firstly, it shows that Sir Keir Starmer wasn't particularly serious about kicking anti-Semitism out of the Labour Party. He was more concerned with convincing the rest of us that he'd done so, rather than actually doing it himself. Otherwise, he would have reacted immediately and got rid of Azhar Ali, the candidate in Rochdale, who said typically anti-Semitic stuff. But he didn't, because he didn't want to lose the seat. And he didn't have time to get a replacement. And then he got himself into even more trouble when more anti-Semitic comments came from Mr. Ali the following day. So it shows a second thing, which is that there is literally no subject on God's earth about which Keir Starmer wouldn't do a 180-degree turn, probably by the following morning. You know, even the earth is flat, he will say one day. The next day he will suddenly have decided that the earth is square or round. I mean, it is utterly bizarre. I have never known a political leader to drop the previously made decisions with such regularity, to the degree that you can't trust what he's going to do next.
Well, those comments were appalling, and that is why we took decisive action. It is virtually unprecedented to withdraw support for a candidate in the way that I withdrew support for this candidate yesterday. That's what a changed Labour Party is all about. And of course, any allegation will be fully investigated by the party. But the important thing is the decisive action that's been taken to make it absolutely clear that this is a changed Labour Party.
It's been red-washed, hasn't it? It's been basically what's happened is that Keir Starmer has purged from the front bench of the Labour Party the majority of those people who were guilty of anti-Semitic ideas and so on. So they've been put to the backbenches where they are now. But the problem which Starmer has is that between now and the next election, whenever that might be, you are going to see more and more of these candidates suddenly revealed to have said something anti-Semitic at some point in time. It could be 30, 40, it could be 80. Because they all believe this. They all believe that Israel is the kind of font of all evil in the world. It is a purely anti-Semitic trope, and you will find it on the far left, just as you find it on the far right. And so all these people are going to come before the cameras at some point in time over the next 9 months, and Starmer is going to be put in this position of having to disavow them as being candidates for the next election. So he is absolutely scuppered on this.
I set out 4 years ago to tear anti-Semitism out of the Labour Party. It's the first thing I said I'd do as Labour leader, and to change our party. I've taken a series of decisions along those lines, ruthlessly changing our party, and it's made no difference to me where somebody stands in the Labour Party. The change I brought about is a Labour Party that is now back in the service of working people.
He knew that he had to detoxify the Labour brand, and anti-Semitism was one part of that. A lack of patriotism is another part of it. Another part of it is the woke agenda as well, getting rid of that to a degree, which he hasn't done. And he was fairly ruthless in those first 2 years, first 2 or 3 years, in getting rid of the people who were the most obnoxious within the party. But they're still there. That's the problem. That's the problem he has. And the way he behaved over the Azhar Ali case makes you suspect that it was done purely for instrumental reasons, not because he had a great fear of anti-Semitism within Labour, but simply that he didn't want us to know that it was there.
Voters in Rochdale will have to determine who they vote for, but I'm not prepared to put forward a Labour candidate unless I think that candidate is fit to be a Labour MP?
I've always thought that this was a massive issue, and I've been writing about it for quite a long time. And a lot of people didn't think it was a big issue, but it really, really is, because he has he has to square that circle, and it's virtually impossible for him to do so. I suspect that what will happen over the next 5 or 6 months, and I think Labour knows this, there are about 40 constituencies where the Muslim vote is around either 15% or much above. It's over 50% in parts of Birmingham, Hodge Hall and Bradford West, and so on and so on. So there is a large constituency there which could give Labour its majority, and Starmer needs to keep those people on his side, he will think. And so what I suspect he will do, and this is just a guess, I suspect that at some point in the next couple of weeks, he will start criticizing Israel more, and start taking a harder line on Israel, because either he does that, and this is looking at what he has to do from a purely practical point of view, either he does that or he's going to have open revolt in his party, and he's going to have all these candidates criticizing both him and Israel at the same time. And it would be a terrible mess, an absolutely terrible mess. And you cannot go into an election when you're divided in that way. But given the way that Sakir has behaved on so many other issues, whether it be about Labour front benchers attending picket lines, whether it be about nationalising the utilities, whether it be about what a woman is, which he still doesn't apparently know, he has changed his mind on every single issue. And my guess is that he will start to get tougher on Israel as the weeks progress. And if he doesn't, then there really will be serious trouble in the Labour Party. Bring it on, I say.